In September 2013, my partner and I exchanged wedding vows. Throughout our first year as husband and wife, we felt nothing except boundless joy and love. Our arguments became more frequent over time. There was this one occasion when I overheard him gaming. A large sum of money was due to him, and he admitted as much on the outside. 3 months later, he still betrayed me, despite my desire to give him another opportunity. Calls from my bank trying to collect a debt shocked and upset me. Our home was mortgaged, so I knew he was still gambling. These things hurt me a lot, and I was really dissatisfied and depressed because of them. I was shocked and hurt that he would act in such a way. Later on, as he knelt before me and pleaded for my forgiveness, my emotions were all over the place. I had my doubts that he would actually change. For the sake of gathering my thoughts and giving this some serious consideration, I told him I needed some time alone with my ideas. It was as if he was unhappy with my choice. He sincerely asked for a second opportunity, promising to try to change his ways and apologize if I would give him the chance. It took some effort to break away from him, but I ultimately realized it was the right decision. Lastly, I expressed my hope that he would improve himself, take full responsibility for his actions, and give serious thought to his issues. After that, I moved to a new apartment and started living on my own. Despite persistent feelings of despair and disappointment, I learned to embrace the future with hope and confidence. Though I emerged from the process with priceless wisdom, it was exhausting. My skills in self-defense are second to none. After feigning happiness for 3 months, I eventually asked my husband for a divorce. I was resolute in my goal to resolve our financial issues so that we could swiftly end the marriage and begin anew. My spouse, an attorney, and I set up a meeting in our house once. We settled on a plan to split the marital debts and assets after some discussion. One of the most emotionally taxing parts of this journey for me was dealing with my failing marriage. We were able to reach a reasonable compromise since my lawyer was very supportive and helpful throughout the process. At long last, we signed the divorce papers. We finally decided to get a divorce the next week. That night, while I was getting ready to take a shower and go to sleep, someone stepped in. I sprung into action, ready to defend myself, for it was my spouse. He did nothing while I questioned his motives for having the key to my house. A slight dread crept in. Why he had decided to pay a visit to my house was a mystery to me just now. He seemed to be after the money I was carrying, as he knew I had it on me. He had mentioned it before, but I had turned it down. He may say he needed the money to pay bills, but I still wouldn't trust him. I sensed that once he acquired the funds, he would persist in gambling, exacerbating our already dire situation. The moment our gazes met, my mood started to plummet. This man was my rock when we were younger, but now he's totally different. This news broke my heart. I let him know that I would not be able to provide any more financial assistance. I refused to let him ruin my life any longer. I had already stopped believing in him when he started promising that he would change. Following my rejection, he started to weep. He seemed distressed. My spirit prompted me to say, "God, I need your help." He persisted in apologizing even after he had already borrowed money from me. Someone ought to have contacted the authorities. I sprinted into the bedroom as fast as lightning because he wasn't looking. Suddenly, he stormed into the bedroom as I was about to unlock the door. I was the target of the man's wrath. It was as though Satan himself had made his home in his spirit. After grabbing the ashtray off the table, he forcefully pressed it on my skull. He spoke the words, "I'm going to kill you." I fell to the floor. I was about to run away when he re-seized me. Once again, his fist slammed the ashtray over my skull. I lost all motivation to fight. I could barely make out details anymore, and the world around me was getting louder by the second. A tunnel seemed to materialize before my eyes. It was as though someone had answered my prayers. I just needed a heart that was willing to be led by God's love. I felt an immense wave of love as a brilliant light encompassed me. Due to the intensity of the feeling, I believed God was holding me. Attempts to describe my current state of mind are met with a lack of adequate words. I felt the warmth of God's love. My heart was racing out of nowhere. At the moment of my materialization, an aura of sacred calmness enveloped me. Beautiful landscapes awaited our arrival. No longer did I feel pain or worry. It was as if my soul had been cleaned. I knew I had reached my destination the moment I spotted the white gate. Upon entering the grounds, a beautiful angel greeted me. With a smile on her face, she welcomed me and led me to a plaza. I could sense the angels' contagious joy and energy as I watched them congregate in the square. The angels were dancing and speaking amongst themselves. I was pleased and astonished by the electric atmosphere created by their passion, which permeated the entire room. This is the celestial welcome square, say the angels. Whenever a new spirit visits this place, the angels hold a huge welcoming party. In this caring square, everyone can discover the grace and blessing of God. Every angel I saw was breathtaking. As a brilliant light bounced off of their bodies, I was overcome with a sensation of extreme warmth. Each recently arrived ghost was greeted with a white robe. This is the typical heavenly dress, say the angels, and it represents the purity and innocence of our souls. Following that, these specters arrived at a beautiful fountain. The angel poured water from the fountain on their bodies. Radiant beams of light began to encircle them. Sound from the celestial choir filled the square as they began to sing. As soon as the beautiful music began, this assemblage of souls began to dance. I could feel their joy and excitement as they seemed to have completely submerged themselves in this fantastical world. Following the welcoming ceremony, the angels began leading the souls to their eternal homes. I could envision many living locations in heaven, and the souls there might choose the one that best fit their needs as they embarked on their eternal journey. A beautiful garden was there, with all sorts of plants and flowers. Enthusiasts may find solace and beauty in this natural setting. A tranquil little lake with unusually clear water served as the garden's main point. Come here and unwind in tranquility. Everyone is welcome. A hive of activity where people were constantly picking up new skills from one another was another thing I noticed. The buildings are immediately identifiable, and they will have no trouble making new friends here. A coastal town finally appeared. There is blue water and white sand beaches. Take it easy and soak up some rays. The town's distinctive handmade goods have also made it famous. The charm of any given dwelling is unique. The hereafter is free to settle wherever its inhabitants feel most at home. Just as I was about to embark on my exploration, the guardian angel cautioned me that there were certain places I couldn't go to. The angel smiled and gave me some advice when I asked for clarification. You can go see the gardens here, and you can also go for a walk by the river. Walking, we arrived at a river. The water was so clear that you could see every pebble on the riverbed. Upon my arrival, I noticed a multitude of people engaged in conversation along the riverbank. It seemed like they were completely at ease and happy. As we followed the angel's lead, we arrived at a huge library with an enormous collection of books. This place, says the angel, records every single event in human history. Paradise was filled to the brim with sheer happiness and fulfillment. I was guided by an angel to a different building. This, she told me, belonged to God. For the sake of my insatiable curiosity, I asked the angel whether it was all right for me to enter now. You haven't had your time yet, and the angel is ready to give it to you. They smiled and told you. You are still far from the end of your journey. In spite of my confusion, I knew it was God's plan and that I needed to carry it out. I was able to reacquaint myself with the feeling of my own respiration and pulse once the angel showed me the way. Upon opening my eyes, I was met with a searing pain. I saw my husband slumped on the floor, his hands covered in blood, his body trembling. As he sobbed, he pleaded with me to pardon him. Why am I in this place? Oh my God, what the blazes! He continued repeating this remark. Looking at him in this way made me feel just as confused as he did. Now that I was too sick to talk, all I could do was stare at him. He knelt down and begged me not to call the cops in an instant. His voice betrayed his fear and helplessness. We finally got the emergency number dialed thanks to his assistance. Upon being transferred to the hospital, I promptly notified the proper authorities of the incident. My husband was charged with manslaughter. When the divorce was finalized so quickly, it seemed like I had escaped from a nightmare. The realization that I could persevere through difficult times helped calm my nerves. Over the years that followed, I joined an organization that provides services to victims of domestic abuse. These pursuits not only made me appreciate what I have even more, but they also gave my life meaning. Somehow, my ex-husband had stopped being so violent. After waiting 8 years, I finally understood. On that day, a complete stranger contacted me. There was a blend of known and unknown characteristics in the man's voice. It came out that my ex-husband had found my contact information. He claimed he didn't want to spend all eternity in hell if I would only forgive him, and apologized again and again. It was unexpected for this call to come through. His thoughts began to replay what had happened that night. He was planning to continue pounding me on the head while holding an ashtray. Something he couldn't see stopped him in his tracks. As he viewed a dazzling light, a white person materialized in front of him. God in his thoughts. "Are you certain you wish to murder your wife?" was the question put to him. A feeling similar to being shocked paralyzed his entire body. He couldn't think of anything to say. The white man inquired, "Would you like to have God's forgiveness? Rescue your wife and flee the scene." He stopped being violent after realizing his behaviors were wrong. He got in touch with a medical facility. Reliving that tragic night was as good as getting back into that other person's voice. I sent my best wishes for happiness in life and conveyed my forgiveness to my ex-husband. The call brought back the horrible memory of that tragedy, but it also brought to light the generosity of people. I really hope he keeps developing and getting better.